Hello and welcome to the last edition of Business Live for the week. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. We are coming up in this edition. New World Bank report notes the proportion of people living below the poverty line has dropped to about 24%. Hotel operators in Accra identify the lack of adequate infrastructure and skilled personnel as some key factors affecting the growth of Ghana's hospitality industry. And the Africa Center for Energy Policy calls for collaboration between all staff of the Electricity Company of Ghana, the government authorities and the Millennium Development Authority to deliberate on some concerns raised over ECG's privatization exercise. So these are the headlines we're working with, and you can be interactive with us by tweeting. The handle is @JoyBusinessGH, and on Facebook, the page is Joy Business. You can also log on to www.myjoyonline.com/business, and we'll be right back with the details. Don't go away. Thank you very much for staying and welcome back to the program. Now, the very first story, the recent economic growth witnessed in the country has helped reduce poverty significantly over the years. That's the conclusion of a report covering Ghana's dealings with the World Bank. The report noted the proportion of people living below the poverty line had dropped to about 24%. It, however, adds growth must be accompanied with some social protection policies to help poor households in the country. Sergei Kulik is country program coordinator at the World Bank office here in Ghana.
We have a lot of instruments to gauge the situation in the country, and especially to gauge the situation with the main mandate of the World Bank, which is poverty reduction and shared prosperity. Those are the twin goals of the institution that we are pursuing in all client countries. And in the case of Ghana, this is also the statistical evidence that we're having, that the growth in Ghana for the last 2 decades was accompanied with the reduction in poverty levels. So once again, as we say it in the professional jargon, the poverty-focused growth. Yes, it might not trickle down to everybody, but again, we are looking at a holistic picture of the status of the economy and the status of this work in the government, and we are very much satisfied that the growth, again, I repeat myself, was associated with reduction of poverty. The trend that we probably might not like together with the government is that there was a little shift into the side of inequality. Very slight one, but nevertheless, it was not shared universally, so to speak. The poverty reduction was not shared universally. There were some regions that were better than others. There were some stratas of the society that were better than others, but government is fully aware, and we're supporting the government's drive to make the growth equally noticeable for everybody.
Now, some hotel operators in Accra have identified the lack of adequate infrastructure and skilled personnel, as well as high cost of operations, as key factors affecting Ghana's growth of the hospitality industry. There's more in this report.
According to the recent research on the hotels industry by Juvago, a leading online hotel booking portal in Africa, Ghana's hospitality sector has recorded about a 20% growth over the past few years. Aside from its job creation potential, with many hotels springing up across the country, the sector also contributes about 8% to the country's GDP. CEO of Jumia Travel, Paul Midi, tells Joy Business the sector's contribution to the economy could be boosted only if the challenges are addressed.
When we talk with our hotel manager, with our customer, we see 3 main challenges. First, there is a challenge in terms of infrastructure. Second one in terms of human resources, and third one in terms of cost of operations. So in terms of infrastructure, of course, if you want to book a hotel online, you need to have a good internet. I think on this is improved dramatically in the past years. But in terms of infrastructure for travel, we are talking about roads, buses, all the transportation, infrastructure that will ease for people the fact that they can travel. Okay, on this there is still a lot to do. Second challenge in human resources. I think it's something that we should develop in Ghana to train people more and to increase the quality of the hospitality sector. And the third challenge is, I would say, cost of operation, which is, when it's what our hotel manager tells us. To operate an hotel is very expensive, and the first thing that they find really expensive is taxes. Okay, so they always want that the government reduce taxes on the hospitality market, which is, I think, a lever that many governments that were willing to push tourism and hospitality industry used, playing with fiscal incentives.
Government is therefore being challenged to invest more in the training of skilled personnel, as well as reduce taxes on fuel and other levies that affect travelers, whilst private businesses are also to take steps to ensure a high maintenance culture. This, industry players believe, is the way forward in developing the hotel industry to the benefit of the economy.
Now, moving on, businesses that depend heavily on domestic flights for their operations have been assured of not encountering any challenges. This is because unionized workers of the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority have suspended their planned strike. Now, this was after government decided to release lands at Lankwantana in Medina belonging to the authority for installation of flight safety equipment. Their action would have resulted in the grounding of all domestic flights and caused serious revenue loss for operators of most domestic carriers. Theophilus Ago is the acting president of the Air Traffic Controllers Association.
Moving right away as I'm talking to you. So, see is believing. We are moving to the site to start with everything. We're ready to do whatever we want to do as we speak. So if the one in charge says, look, you've been calling for this, so come, let's go there and take what you have. We need to listen.
How critical is this equipment to your operations that you were bent on going on an indefinite strike?
This equipment is time-bound manufacturing equipment. For instance, when we talk about this high-frequency equipment, it's being manufactured for a specific period of time. For instance, 10 years, you need to replace it. As it stands, that equipment is about 50.
But help me, what does that equipment actually do?
This equipment basically is used for communication, like Joy FM using VHF. You know, VHF is short, but the HF that we use is just like the SW frequencies that we have on our radios. You know, you can sit in a car and get BBC on SW from UK, but you cannot get BBC on VHF in a car from UK.
So some good news there for domestic carriers. Now, moving on, tax consultant Ali Abdallah Nachia has charged businesses in the country to constantly update themselves of the country's tax laws. This, according to him, is the only way for them to be able to take full advantage of the numerous reliefs provided by the laws governing payment of taxes in the country. Some businesses, including foreign ones, have in recent past witnessed lockdowns and subsequently attracted penalties imposed on them by the revenue collection agencies for non-compliance. Speaking at an Indian business seminar organized by the Universal Merchant Bank, UMB, in Accra, Mr. Nachia said critically examining the provisions of the country's tax laws could help businesses escape avoidable taxes.
How can businesses be well versed with the taxes that face them and prepare themselves to comply? The best way of honoring your taxes is to be very compliant, because you know, if you make delayed payments, it comes with penalties. If you infringe on any provisions of the law, it comes with penalties. If you delay payment, there will be interest charges. These are costs that you can't recover because they will not be allowed as business expenses. So the idea of conquering the landscape for tax in Ghana is to ensure that you understand the tax law, you know where to look for what, and be able to comply so that you don't fall foul of the law. That's the essence, because the bottom line of every taxpayer is to pay not more than he is required to pay. And in the same vein, the revenue is also trying to collect whatever single peso that should be taken from you. So at the end of the day, there should be a meeting point, because if you comply with the law, you end up paying what you are supposed to pay, and the revenue will get what it's supposed to get.
If you can speak up just a little bit for me so we can capture it fully. So how do you conquer it?
Conquering the tax landscape in Ghana is trying to understand what is in the tax law. Also trying to be able to interpret the provisions of the tax law, because tax is virtually law, because these are legal provisions in an act that you need to obey. If you fall foul of it, you are going to suffer penalties and interest. So the idea is that you can be able to conquer the tax landscape if you really understand and know what is in the tax law for you, in terms of benefits, in terms of timelines, in terms of payment obligations, and then you'll be able to keep your head above water.
The planning, for instance, how can one plan it, and then after reading the laws and understanding it, how does one plan and be able to conquer it?
There is a saying that there are only two things that are sure in this world: death and taxes. The closeness is because of the certainty. It's certain that everybody will die, and so it is certain that everybody will pay tax at one point in time or the other. There's also the saying that with taxation you can run, but you cannot hide. Because no matter how you arrange your affairs, one tax or the other will be staring you in the face.
Now, at the same event, Chief Executive Officer of UMB, John Iwua, said the bank deems it a responsibility to help its customers comply with the country's tax laws in order to sustain their businesses.
Our prerogative has been to be in the front row, trying to understand the needs of our various business and entities and our customer base, and even those who are not our customers. So we are doing this to showcase UMB and also to let the business community know about our laws in the country. Taxes are important for the country, and there are new tax laws, and we want to use the opportunity to also educate our customers and potential customers on what they can and cannot do according to the tax laws. Taxes are important, and I'm very, very excited about the current session that we have had and the kind of input and the advice that has been given to the business people. Sometimes we flout the laws without knowing, and I've received some very positive feedback from some of the people that I've interacted with since the presentation on the conquering the taxation landscape. So we are very happy to address the concerns of the various categories of customers that we have, and it's important that as a banker we are a partner. We are not just a bank, and we try to meet the needs of our customers in several ways. One of it, the ways that in which we try to meet the needs of our customers, to educate them on emerging trends. And when the new thing comes to town, you should ask yourself, are you compliant?
Now, away from that, prices of some vegetables and other commodities have recorded gains in some markets in the country. Let's now have an update of commodities data provided by Agriculture Information and Communication Service Company, Isoko Ghana.
This week on the food commodity market, the price for a bag of maize made gains in 3 markets. A 100-kilogram bag of maize sold 490 Ghana cedis in Accra, representing a gain of 6% over that of the previous week of 180 Ghana cedis. In Kumasi, the commodity gained 3% to close the week at 180 Ghana cedis from a previous price of 175 Ghana cedis. Takoradi gained 5% to close the week at 220 Ghana cedis from last week's 210 Ghana cedis. On the retail market, a kilo of maize gained 11% in Accra to close the week at 2 Ghana cedis from a previous price of 1 Ghana cedi 80 pesos, while in other markets, the price remained the same. A crate of tomatoes lost in some markets and gained in only one market this week. The highest loss of 45% was made in Techiman. A crate of tomatoes was sold for 220 Ghana cedis from last week's price of 400 Ghana cedis. Kumasi followed with a loss of 30% to close the week at 223 Ghana cedis from the previous price of 320 Ghana cedis, with Accra also losing 20% to close the week at 400 Ghana cedis. In Tamale Market, a crate of tomatoes gained 3% to close the week at 250 Ghana cedis, from a previous value of 243 Ghana cedis. On the retail market, a kilo of tomatoes lost 36% in Techiman to close the week at 3 Ghana cedis 40 pesos, with Takrade also dropping 10% to close at 12 Ghana cedis 50 pesos, and also with Accra and Kumasi losing 28 and 18% to close the week at 5 cedis 10 pesos and 5 cedis 90 pesos respectively. In the other markets, the prices remained the same.
So those were some commodity updates. Now let's cross over the shores of the country and get some international business updates.
Toyota, the world's biggest automaker, has shut down 2 out of 8 lifts at its Tokyo headquarters in an effort to cut cost. Air conditioning temperatures have also been adjusted amid concerns about the weak global economy and as the strengthening yen eats into profits. Toyota said the move was to help the company stay lean. It took similar steps during 2008's financial crisis, but the company did not disclose how much it expected to save. The board of Tata Steel is meeting in India to discuss the future of its UK steel operations. It is expected to pause the sale of the main Port Talbot plant, but go ahead with the sale of its specialty business, which employs 2,000 people in Hartlepool, Rotherham and Stocksbridge. Tata is thought to be in less of a hurry to sell because of rising steel prices and signs of government support. Business Secretary Sajid Javid is in Mumbai for talks with the company. The U.S. economy created 287,000 jobs in June, rebounding strongly from disappointing growth in May. The figure was much stronger than forecast, and the dollar and yields on U.S. government bonds rose in the belief of a U.S. rate rise was now more likely. The Labor Department revised down May's already weak first estimate of 38,000 jobs to just 11,000. The unemployment rate, which is derived from a different data set, rose to 4.9% in June from 4.7% the month before. The world's top platinum miners face tough wage talks next week with South Africa's hardline unions, having seen their balance sheets battered and the capacity for big pay hikes limited by low prices and the effects of a 5-month strike in 2014. The Association of Mine Workers and Construction Union plans to demand rises of more than 50%, while a smaller union demanded 20%.
Business Live today was brought.
Thank you very much for staying and welcome back to Business Live. Now on Fridays like this, we go to the stock market to see how it closed for the week. And as usual, Bertha Atubiga, our stock market analyst, is here. He has joined me in the studio to tell us more about how the market closed. Good evening, Bertha.
Hi, Emmanuel.
So how did it all end today?
Well, let's say today's market was actually impressive. I would say I was impressed with the performance. Looking at the volumes of shares that traded on the exchange today, we saw 126,680 shares trading at 507,357 Ghana cedis, and that was quite high. Though it's not extremely high, but it's a good trade to have such volumes of shares trading on a single day. Now we had the top trader in terms of volume being that's Total. Total traded the highest volumes of shares today. We traded 50,000 shares, and we saw the share price of Total actually go down by 2 pesos to close at 3 cedis 95 pesos. So previously, that was yesterday, Total was trading at 3 cedis 97 pesos. And now you look at the sector in which Total belongs to. Total is under the petroleum sector, and we know Total and GOIL are the only petroleum equities that we have on the stock market. On the average, you look at the performance of GOIL and you compare it to Total, you realize that Total is relatively high priced, is a high-priced equity as compared to GOIL. You look at their financials and you look at even their products, their end products, you realize that most people testify that GOIL, you look at their services, you look at the price of even the crude, the petroleum product that they sell on the market is relatively cheaper than that of Total. So these are, and the financials too, GOIL actually does better than Total. And even with the latest development that we have in GOIL, where they are going to set up a port at Takrady, where they'll be producing fuel for the vessels.
Bunkering.
Yes, for the vessels
services.
that will come into Ghana. And this is actually a positive signal, though GOR has also been depreciating in terms of value on the share on the stock market after the rights issue. But it is an equity that when you look at the future benefits that one can get from the equity, it is a very good equity to go into under the petroleum sector. Not to say Total is not a very good equity, but if you're looking at the prices, you're looking at the future, the forecast of the equity, the two equities, then GOR will be a better alternative as compared to Total.
For quite a long time now, we hadn't seen Tullow pop up, but in the course of this week, Tullow came up. What has become of Tullow's shares again?
You know, Tullow is also one very high priced equity on the market. It is not a liquid equity. When I say liquid, it means that it is an equity that you cannot easily buy or sell off. And when the price of when Tullow comes up like that, it means that somebody is either selling off, because right now in the state of our economy, every investor is actually looking out for capital gains and dividends. So if the company is not declaring dividends or not paying out dividends, then I'd rather sell off than to lose further. Because the first movement that we saw in Tullow Oil on the stock market was a drop in share price. So probably to avoid further drops in the share price of Tullow, then you can sell off right now. But if you have very good funds that you're looking out for long term, like 20 years, you can actually invest in Tullow. Yes. And we also had some, that is it for Tullow. We also had some equities moving. StanChart actually traded 19,580 shares. That was the third highest volumes of shares traded on the exchange. And you know, this week, StanChart added, just today, it added 6 pesos to investors.
Yeah, but you know what? StanChart's equities have been having some roller coaster performance. I don't know what
it was actually. Yes, StanChart, when you look at their financials year-on-year basis, their profits have gone down. Year-on-year basis. You look at the dividend payout. The dividends that they pay out at the end of every financial year has also gone down significantly. So investors look at all these things. Your financials are not impressive. Your dividend payout has gone down, and it sends a bad signal out. Though it's a very good equity, it's a very high priced equity, and the price has fallen significantly. It's one of the shares that have actually lost so much on the stock market, and now that it has gotten to this, let me say, one of the lowest prices it has recorded in recent times, investors will actually take advantage to buy. And looking at the volumes of shares that were traded, it could be a block trade that was done and bought at a premium or higher than the prevailing or the prevailing market price. That's why we saw the share price actually go up by that margin. And you look at the number of trade that we had just 4 deals or transactions going on in StanChart today. And one other equity that also moved today positively was Aluwex. Aluwex went up by a peso to close at 11 pesos per share. And you know, Aluwex is also very good equity. The financials are not impressive, but with a foreign investor coming in to invest in the company, that's about $26 million in the investment in the company. It has already sent out a good signal to investors. A low priced equity, a bit risky because of what they are into, but a very good equity.
We don't have much time, but quickly, how much did the Ghana cedi settle for the dollar this week?
Okay, as a close of yesterday, it was quoting averagely at 3.96 Ghana cedis. Yes, but we should expect further marginal depreciations in the value of the cedi against the dollar.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For your analysis. Thank you so much. That was Bertha Atubiga, our stock market analyst, ending this evening's stock analysis for Business Live. Now, for our interview of the day segment, Deputy Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Ben Boakye, has called for a level playing field for staff of the Electricity Company of Ghana, Government of Ghana, and the Millennium Development Authority to deliberate on some concerns raised over the ECG's privatization. According to ASEP, similar arrangements have not worked well in other countries because the various parties were all on different wavelengths with the issue of privatization. In an interview with Joy Business, Ben Boakye urged collaboration from all stakeholders for a clear course of action.
That there is some sort of disagreement on the part of ECG workers and that of government as well, because government says it wants to go for concession arrangement where they will hand the company to a private entity over a 25-year period, after which the company reversed to government. And ECG says, if you are willing to give the kind of concessions you are giving to the private enterprise, give us that same leverage, that same opportunity, and we'll be able to perform. Because under the compact, government is supposed to pay all its debts to ECG and also stop interfering, largely. So ECG think that if government gave them that opportunity, they could also perform. So we wanted to create a platform where government and workers would actually interface with stakeholders, and then we can build consensus around the key disagreements. Because ultimately what we want is an efficient power sector that deliver cheap and affordable power to the people.
And on that note, we end tonight's edition of Business Live. Thank you for keeping me company throughout the week, and I hope you enjoyed every aspect of the show. Make a date again, same time Monday, for another interesting package. Meantime, you can interact with us by tweeting at JoyBusinessGH, and you can also send your comments and questions and issues that you want to discuss onto our Facebook page, Joy Business. For more business news updates, you can also log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Once again, thank you so much. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Good evening.